by a gardener, friend of mine, who had gone to middle school here at Edna McGuire when he was a kid, and so he was so happy to put in this grape arbor, and he did the most beautiful job. He used redwood, kiln-dried core redwood. I mean, it's the most beautiful wood in the world. You cannot find it again, so I'm so glad to find out that it's not being torn down. It's like the center of the garden. It's what started it all. And so it was a very touching story, and he still lives in Mill Valley, so he comes by and he checks on the grape arbor every now and then to see if it's still here, and he's so happy to know that it is. And he has kids, and they probably are going to go to school here.
What's his name?
Kurt Schloss, oh, it's a real hard last name, Schlottstadt. But
Say it one more time.
Kurt Schlottstadt. He's going to kill me. I've probably butchered his name.
That's why I could edit it. Try it one more time.
Kurt Schlottstadt. Sorry, Kurt. But he's adorable. And he's got 2 great kids. So they're probably going to come to school here. Well, they're probably in high school by now. What am I talking about? Time stands still. Okay, so we have a couple of funny stories, too. This is an organic garden. And when Susan Reynolds asked me to help her with an organic garden, I said, great, but I didn't know much about organic gardening. And so we had these wonderful books by John Jevons, and that was my night reading. And I had no idea all the work that went into an organic garden. I used chemicals prior to that, and chemical fertilizers, chemical bug sprays, all the bad stuff. And so it opened up a whole new world. And this was back in 1990. So thank goodness it opened up a whole new world, because now we're teaching this to our children, and it's no big deal to them. It's wonderful, and it makes so much sense. I would be out in the garden working, and the kids weren't allowed in here during recess unless there was a teacher with them. But I'd be working in the garden, and little kids would be running up to me with their hands like this. It's like, Suzanne, Suzanne, I have something for you. And they'd come up to the fence, and they'd open up their hand, and there'd be ladybugs. And they'd say, these are for the aphids. And I'd say, thank you so much. And I'd take them, and I'd put them on the roses. But they got it. It was just natural to them. It was no big deal. And I thought, wow, if this is working, it's working. And then there was a little boy. He said, Suzanne, I saw a snake. I want you to lift up this barrel. So we had wine barrels with the hoses. So I'd lift up the barrel, and it wasn't there. Go lift up the other barrel, wasn't there. Finally, we'd find the barrel that it was hiding under. And, it took my day to do this, but it was like, this is what I want. I don't want people to be afraid of snakes. I want people to run to the snake and be excited. So I'm so happy that the garden's still here and still working for everybody.
That is. Anything else? Are we good?
So what do you think the First Lady would say about the Edna Children's Garden?
She'd say, oh, it wasn't my idea. I wasn't first, and neither was Alice Waters. These teachers were way ahead of everybody else. And if it wasn't for the teachers, if it wasn't for Susan Reynolds in particular, this garden would have gone away. But she stood up and she said, I can teach every single subject through this garden. I can teach English, history, art, math, science, of course. You name it, Susan said. I could have a table out here, and we could meet out here every day, and we could learn through this garden. And her enthusiasm and her determination is what kept the garden here. And if it wasn't for Susan and her leadership role in this, it wouldn't have survived.
For elementary children around the country, would you like to give them a message?
Yes. If you see a little piece of dirt anywhere, and it's yours and it's in the sun, and you can get water to it, plant something there. And it'll grow, and you will be so happy that you did that.
Sweet.
Yes, I love it. Thank you. Me like
I know. My daughter lives in Brooklyn. She was the kindergartner who was here in 1990 when the school first opened. And
Actually, hang on. Is the air conditioner okay?
It is, because it's continuous. We can
Okay.
live with it. Yeah.
and Brooklyn has a lot of trees. You know, there's that book, A Tree Grows in Brooklyn. No, there's a lot of trees in Brooklyn, and there's gardens in Brooklyn. But she had an apartment, and it looked down into this dirt square. And so she went out there, and she dug it up, and she amended it. She got a compost bin. She brought in seeds. She watered it, and she had the most gorgeous garden out there that you could believe. And they get some heat out in Brooklyn, so she had tomatoes, and she had eggplant, and she had everything possible growing there. And then the apartment around her, you know, saw what she was doing, so they started doing it. And then the people who were living in her apartment said, well, why do you get the whole backyard? Why don't we get some of it too? And so she said, well, okay, I'll share. And so then they were growing something, and then everybody wanted to do it. So, you know, it's contagious. You just, you can't stop it. Once you see, especially if you see somebody making it possible, you want to do it too. And it's contagious around the country. It's fantastic. It's this whole new thing that's going on, and everybody wants to get in the dirt and do it the way our grandparents did it, which was organically.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Excellent. Very nice.